Welcome to Bikers and Backroads, a podcast discussing all things Harley-Davidson. We're your hosts, Jason and the Big Z, so sit back while we take this episode and put it in the wind on Bikers and Backroads. Hey guys, welcome back to Bikers and Backroads. This is your host, Jason and the Big Z. We're just back for episode 2. We had a good time with the first one. We hope you guys enjoyed it and got a chance to watch it or listen to it. We're on every major podcast host site, or Apple iTunes, Spotify, all the other ones, Amazon. We went through that process over the weekend and we've been accepted on all, so you can find us at Bikers and Backroads wherever you get your favorite podcasts. We're also on YouTube. The YouTube channel is Bikers and Backroads. We have our first podcast airing there, as well as we did a bike check video. So make sure you use that avenue as well, and that you hit the bell so that you're notified of whenever we get a new episode out. And we plan on trying to put out at least 2 videos a week, and we're going to do at least 1 podcast a week. So we're having a pretty good time with this. So tonight, we're just going to talk about some things Harley corporate and racing things, so you're not just listening to us being boring about what we ride and what we do. We're going to try to get a ride in, and we'll talk about that probably in the next couple episodes. But Z just got home from work. He's been out of town all week. What's up, buddy?
Oh, not much. How about you?
Just a week of work, ready for Friday to end this thing. So I got a few talking points tonight. We touched base through the week, wondering what we were going to do on our podcast, and just pulled some things out. So let's get into it. So, as many of you know, if you're Harley enthusiasts like we are, that Harley-Davidson has named a new CEO. His name is Artie Starrs. Mr. Starrs is supposed to join the motor company in the position of CEO starting October 1st of 2025. And you may be wondering, hey, what's going to happen with Yoke and Zeitz? He's currently Harley's CEO right now, and he's going to stay on in role of CEO until October 1st, and then he's going to stay on a little later through February of 2026 as a senior advisor for Mr. Starrs as he makes that transition. Well, the next question you may say is, who is Artie Starrs? Well, Mr. Starrs comes to Harley-Davidson after many successful stops along the way. He was the global CEO of Pizza Hut, and then recently, over the past, I believe, 4 years, he's been the CEO of Topgolf. And in that time, while he was at Topgolf, he increased their revenue by over 50%, going from $1.1 billion to $1.8 billion. In all the press release, you see that Harley-Davidson seems to be struggling at some point or some other place in the market. New bike sales, they say, are down. I don't know. Every time we go into a dealer, it's like new bikes are flying off the showroom floor.
Yeah, just the last time we were in the dealership, our local dealership, they had 2 bikes that had just been sold and a guy working a deal on another one.
So hopefully Mr. Starrs comes in with some fresh ideas of how to grow the company and just get back to the roots. There's a lot of people that feel a little disconnect from the Mr. Zeitz, and as Harley-Davidson put him in as CEO, I guess you never know how great a leader is in your organization until after they're gone, because that's when you can measure the legacy that he left. So it's probably unfair. We'll see in the next few years just how good a job or not that Mr. Zeitz did as CEO of Harley-Davidson. You're always going to have those diehards that believe there should be a Davidson as the CEO of Harley-Davidson. And there continues to be grandchildren and those coming up in the company. Bill Davidson's still there, Willie G's son. I'm sure there's lots of people that would love to see Bill Davidson slide into that chair as CEO just as a family namesake. But hey, maybe he doesn't want that role. So we're just going to let corporate issues be corporate issues, and we'll move on from there. So what do you think, Big Z?
Seeing his success and growing the businesses and all of his previous achievements, I'm really hoping he, brings that along with him to Harley-Davidson and grow the motor company even more. Harley-Davidson's a huge brand and one of the oldest American companies ever in the country, really. So we are super excited, and I'm really excited to see what he does with, bikes coming out. I love the way this new CEO has entered that performance style on baggers and cruisers. He's bringing performance to the cruiser world, which hasn't been seen very much until recently, and it's made a big boom of it. And we're seeing that come out from the factory instead of just aftermarket parts. So I'm really hoping to see the new CEO continue that and see where he takes that. But I'd also love to see him, push for some bringing back of the old days. Like, me and Dad are huge fans of the old Springers. Love those. I don't really want to see any of your old school, like a Softail Heritage. I don't really want to see those go away. I'd love to see them, maybe get updated, or even, see what they bring more to the market on the aftermarket side. What if Screaming Eagle starts producing, even more than it does now, which Screaming Eagle has everything, really. But what if they start listening a little bit more to what some of the more higher end aftermarket guys are doing, and like maybe some more aggressive cams coming from Screaming Eagle, an update on the Screaming Eagle tuner,
Yeah. I think Harley in general has done a good job of listening to their builders and how people in the Harley community start to develop and do things with their bikes. It seems like the motor company has always listened to Harley enthusiasts and tried to develop that next generation of bike with some feedback or input from those builders. Like every time a new model comes out and you say, the first thing guys are going to change are the bars, the seat, and the exhaust. I think you see the Road Glide right now. The Road Glide, the new model Road Glide came out, and a lot of people love the stock bars. So there's one thing you don't have to do to your bike. So in developing all that stuff, I think Mr. Zeitz allowed those designers and the developers of the bikes, so with the tech and all that stuff that's updating, I think he allowed those designers to have a lot more freedom in doing that. It seems like in the past couple years, Harley is trying to push the envelope, like Xander said, into some performance issues and things like that. So we do like that, but I also want to see the new CEO continue to embrace that. There's still some things Harley's probably behind, even on some of the technology of even like an Indian, and we're not here to talk about any other brand. We love Harleys, but there are just some things, even on some Gold Wings, the new Gold Wing, there is tech there that's available that other bike companies are using, and they're very competitive in the market at their price point. With still some tech upgrades. I mean, Harley now, as you're seeing a lot of ABS, and it seems they were late to the game in putting that on most of their big bikes, of making ABS mandatory. But anyway, we know that a lot of this, and it's a great transition, we know a lot of developmental and improvements in technology as well as performance comes from racing. We love King of Baggers. I love Moto America. We watch Hooligans. We watch Super Bikes. I mean, we like sport bikes around here. We're not going to bash you for what you ride on. We just ride Harleys. But we love King of Baggers. And King of Baggers was at Moto America last weekend, and that's the closest it comes to us here at our house. And we were really trying to get there. But Xander had to work a special Saturday, and it barely put him home for any on Sunday. So we missed that opportunity to go up there. But that was the races of 9 and 10 for the 14 race season for King of Baggers. So coming out of Moto America, race 1 on Saturday had Hayden Gillum winning, Troy Herfoss finishing second, and Kyle Wyman finishing third. So that's a pretty strong podium right there. And on Sunday's race, you saw Troy Herfoss with the first place, Kyle Wyman in second, and Rocco Landers on the podium in third. So where does all that wash out? Kyle Wyman, right now, after 10 events, has a 78-point lead over the second place. And our family, we're Kyle Wyman and James Rispoli fans, because they're, of course, factory Harley-Davidson, and with their title sponsor of Dynajet, they race for the factory race team. But the second and third place are some Indian factory riders, Troy Herfoss and Loris Baz. coming into the last 4 races, there's 2 left, 2 series left. The next one is going to be September 26th and through the 28th in New Jersey at Motorsports Park in Millville, New Jersey. So with a 78-point lead, and Kyle Wyman's pretty solid at getting on the podium. I mean, he had a pretty bad crash over the weekend and ended up still getting back on the podium after they put his bike all back together. And you know, that's a scramble. Those race teams are amazing. But what they're doing with those road glides on the race team, you're definitely seeing trickle down into mainstream on the showroom. Not knocking anything, but not everybody, like I said in the last episode, has Harley Davidson Road Glide RR money, which is $100,000 plus limited run, limited edition, which is awesome. I love that Harley does that. I mean, if you want to drop $100K on an almost racetrack ready bike and rip it, go right ahead. But the fact that that race division has to use a factory clutch, it makes you have a little more confidence in what you're throwing your leg over when you're bringing it home and putting it in your garage. Granted, you can't probably buy the swing arm they run, and they run true almost rear set pegs they call mid controls, and the baggers usually have them a little more forward. They have a little chest pillion on the gas tank, and their bars and risers are totally different, and it sheds weight in places you just can't think of really on your regular street bike. But all that design and all the R&D that's coming from the race team, and the fact that they run the Screaming Eagle cams and they run Dyno Jet tuning because of their title sponsor, they are looking and gathering data that they are trickling down the hall to R&D on the street bike that you can walk in and buy, and I think that is much appreciative by those of us like us that buy Harley Davidsons. I think the old adage of what wins on Sunday sells on Monday, when you referred to auto racing back in the days, you're going to start seeing that trickle more into the motorcycle world. Sport bike guys have always been there because those guys are brand loyal, man. If you rode a GSXR 20 years ago, you're looking to buy a new GSXR that's just coming out because that's what you like. If you've ridden a Harley Road Glide that's you've seen being developed off of a race team, you're probably going to make sure your next bike's a Harley Road Glide because you're going to want to see everything that went into it that developed it to be a better bike. Again, we like racing. What do you think, buddy?
Yeah, I mean, the fact that they're throwing those big bikes around like they are, I mean, it's crazy to watch, and it's so exciting to see whether you're in the stands or on the TV, and I'm hoping to see it in the stands, you know, before too long. But if you look at the difference between like MotoGP and Superbike, and then their lap times against the Battle of the Baggers lap times, it's the same lap times. They're within fractions of a second of each other. And I just listened to a podcast the other day, and I can't remember the name of it. It wasn't really the podcast. It was a clip off of Instagram. And it was this guy, he races Superbike, and, you know, professionally. Now he's getting into possibly looking to get on some Battle of the Baggers. And he was talking about whenever Battle of the Baggers first came out and they would put these big bikes on the track, he would think, man, get these guys off the track, you know, what are they doing? They can't throw these around. And then he said he watched them for the first time and realized, holy cow, these guys are thrashing right now, like they are going crazy. So, I mean, it's just super cool to think, like, these big bikes that you'll see on the road, and you know, sport bike guys, there are a lot of them. They're like, "Oh, you can't run with us." Well, maybe not stock for stock, but if you get a factory team versus a factory team, it's amazing to see what they're going to do, and I'm hoping to see it just amplify in the future. You know,
I love how you see the guys that race King of Baggers, like James Rispoli just won Hooligan this weekend on the Pan America all naked, which is wicked crazy cool to me to think that those guys can do that on that bike. But you watch guys like Hayden Gillum that races a super bike. in one race will come over and then throw his leg over his Harley Davidson Road Glide. And I mean, his points of entry, how he runs the apex of the turn, all of that is very much along the same lines. And we're talking the difference of 300 and 400 pounds. I mean, truly, a race bike, a Harley Davidson King of Bagger, isn't the 800-pound beast that's sitting on the showroom. That thing's probably weighing in closer to 600 pounds. But I mean, a super bike is flickable. Those guys put them wherever they want. There's videos out there all day of guys leaning them over to elbows and shoulders rubbing the ground. I saw an article this weekend. It showed a super bike, and it basically was saying that how it just defied the laws of physics, because that was a lean angle of 60 degrees, which is supposed to be unable to be done with a contact patch of a tire probably being 3 inches or less, definitely less than 3 inches. But I mean, you're talking elbows, knees, and shoulders on the ground. And you'll watch Kyle Wyman, who has had historic success racing other bikes. I mean, they come across the finish line, they stand the thing up on a wheelie. It's like it's just part of them. And the fact that they have so much trust in that bike, and it was so foreign when all this started, it's just kudos to those race teams. Kudos to those riders for pushing the envelope and just being there and seeing everything that they want to do. Kudos again to those race teams and those riders for doing all this and just pushing and breaking laws of physics and things. It's just crazy to watch them push the limits of those bikes, and it's fun to watch.
And like you said, him being able to go straight from Superbike and then throw a leg over the Battle of the Baggers bike, I mean, it's insane to think the difference of how those bikes make power. You're taking a Superbike that's got a 4-cylinder engine that revs out to like 16,000 plus RPM, and all the power is up high. Then he throws a leg over a V-twin that's not revving to 16,000. I mean, that's a mid-range bike, and it's making all its power down low, and it's all torque. I mean, it's just crazy, and it shows the skill these guys have to ride. And, hopefully one day, I don't think I'll ever be close to that, but I'd love to have half of that talent and half of that riding ability.
It's just hours on the bike, and those guys, it is a testament, again, to the race teams and the riders who had just become that comfortable. Okay, so we're coming up on fall of the year, and most other motorcycle brands are releasing new models. We spent last Sunday, Xander and I, looking at the new GSXR 750 that's coming out. It's a reboot of the GSXR 750 that people have been waiting on forever, or the 1000.
Yeah,
the 1000. Sorry, that people have been waiting for. Race teams have been waiting for, and I mean, it released the end of July, so people could start pre-ordering, looking for them in their dealership and things like that. So most other bikes and bike brands release their new inventory in the fall. October-ish, late September, October, 1st of November. But Harley Davidson, the past couple of years, I think since 2000, or 2020, sorry. Since 2020, I think Harley Davidson has been releasing their bikes January. But there's rumors, and all these things I'm looking at online and reading the people that I trust, people that probably get a little leaked info from here and there because they're plugged into the industry a little more, been doing this a little longer than us. They are spinning that Harley is going to release its new models in October. For the first time in 4 to 5 years, they're going to come out in the fall. And possibly even introduce a new entry-level model. So then there's the debate. Well, what's this entry-level model going to be? And it seems to be a debate between the old Sprinter bike. If you can think way back in the 70s, if you've been doing this a while, Harley Davidson had a collaboration with Aermacchi, an Italian brand. They did a Sprinter bike, a flat seat kind of looking cafe racer. You don't see a ton of those out in the market today unless you're talking about a Bonneville or I mean, Triumph still makes that bike. Royal Enfield still makes a couple bikes that are flat seat and just look like city cruisers. I'm not sure that's the place you want to be, but I've also seen a lot of buzz around the Harley Davidson collaboration with Hero motorcycles that they've released in India. It's called the 440X or the X440. One of those, I've seen it listed both ways. But it's kind of like the 500cc bike that Harley used to use and still uses in its rider's safety course.
It's more of like the small, naked, like kind of sportier bike, right? And that's actually the motorcycle I took my motorcycle safety course on. And I thought it was a great machine for the motorcycle safety course. I thought it was super fun to ride. I don't see the market here. So it's going to be cool to see if either one of those gets dropped if they do get a new bike. But it almost is like they're not reaching out towards like your Harley enthusiasts. They're kind of leaning more towards the inner city, big city, somebody that's just using this to simply get around. Not necessarily maybe a motorcycle enthusiast, but maybe it's their step into getting on a motorcycle and becoming a big rider. But to see kind of them bring a European bike over into the United States, I think it'll be cool to see, but personally I don't see the market for it. But how about you?
Well, they're talking about it being between a 300 and 500cc motorcycle. I mean, if you're in a city and you're bouncing around on a Grom, which is an awesome bike to mob around a college campus or something like
Absolutely.
that. If a 300 to 500cc kind of Street Fighter looking, I don't know, it looks like a hybrid Street Fighter cruiser, the X440 does.
Yeah.
It definitely, India is a high populated area. So if there are bike sales for that over there, I think the mindset of Americans is we just like big things that go fast, and we think Harley Davidsons have to make obnoxious amounts of noise, which is super cool. We pay a lot of money to do that. I just don't know where that looks like. You think of the 883 Sportster was supposed to be an entry-level bike, and I mean, and people didn't really know what to do with that, and it's hung around. Now you've got the Nightster. You've got the bikes, smaller frames with the new motor Harley's putting on them. I don't think you're looking for a starter bike or an entry bike to be a 1250cc. Is that the Revolution motor they have? I don't think that's where you're going. So the 300 to 500cc would make sense to me, but I think it's just out of the realm. But they're talking about this bike being sub $6,000. So if this puts a new generation of Harley rider on a bike and they want to buy a new one, you're probably talking about guys who don't wrench on their own bikes, or ladies who don't wrench on their own bike, and in their mindset, if I buy a new one, nobody's messed with it. And they buy that and they ride it a couple years and they get rid of it and they start moving up. Welcome to the Harley Davidson family. If we take care of those people and we offer them things at the factory and you give them a good warranty where they can still plug into the dealerships. I'm just thinking in our local town, or around here locally, one of our biggest dealers is in Huntington. And Huntington's the home of Marshall University. If you got a couple kids from Marshall University that bought entry-level Harleys to mob around campus or get to and from the grocery store, or where they have to go and pick up a few things and it'll fit in a backpack and they can get it home. But then you have the biggest local dealership in the same town that they'll go down to a bike night or have to run to the dealership to pick up things, and you start plugging them into that culture, you might have created a consumer for life. And that's what Harley Davidson is. It's a family brand. It's global, but it's a community. It's a community within inside a community. You're a motorcycle rider from your hometown. You have a local group you ride with. You have a local dealer you patronize. You also then become larger of a, your state has motorcycle riders. You might go to a state function. You might go across state lines to a bike show. But then you start getting comfortable at your local dealership being around other people with your machine. And I think the Harley Riders course is awesome for that. because people all there are there to get their endorsement so they can get their riders class done so they can get the endorsement on their license, which is mandated in most states. And I think most people there, some are expert riders who've never had their endorsement. And some are people who have never thrown a leg over a motorcycle, and those people have to interact for a weekend. And it's all a level playing field.
Oh, yeah.
Because everybody's there for the same reason. I need to pass the written test, and I need to pass the rider test so that I can go to the DMV and prove to the world that I'm a motorcycle rider now. Yeah. Well, you've just gotten your permit to learn, and you probably are just as nervous as you are excited because you're about to get on a bullet around all these caged vehicles, and people don't pay attention to motorcycles. You better be eyes and ears and head on a swivel and paying attention. But I think an entry-level bike may have a purpose. You can't dismiss a whole generation by not even giving them an option. I mean, Livewire came out this is not an area we live in that's going to embrace an electric motorcycle. But I'm sure the Livewire has its place in cities.
Oh, yeah. And if you look, like you mentioned the Grom earlier, which if you just look at what the Grom has done, it's introduced, people who didn't want necessarily the big bike. They were scared. And 500cc sport bike is still a bigger bike for some. But you look and see how the sport bike community has grown. The Grom has a big part to do with that. And I will say, if this is Harley's version of a Grom to try to get people in on the Harley-Davidson family, and they're like, well, I like a Grom, but maybe a 125 doesn't sound like enough because some people realize, hey, I need to be able to get out of the way or have the ability to drop a gear and move. That 440, that could be a great entry, and that is a great response to the Grom. If that's what Harley is trying to go into, that level of bike, that personality, and that just whole group. And it would do great, like you said, college towns, Huntington, West Virginia. That would be a awesome motorcycle for students. And the same idea is get them to run over to there because they're thinking, hey, that's just 4 or 5 blocks off of campus, I can run over there and grab it. Hey, I can drop my bike off and still get to class, and when I'm done with class, my bike's going to be done. And for your average service or inspection or whatever it is. So I'm very excited to see what route they take with the new bike, but an entry-level bike, 100%. I don't know what they're going to do with it, but it definitely has a market somewhere.
I think also you have people asking right now, like Pan America riders, they're asking for a smaller engine displacement. A lot of people are asking for a 900. Lots of people going off. We even see, I just watched a video of Adam Sandoval, and he's a Harley enthusiast, and he had a Pan America, and he rode it on the highway. He put some knobby tires on it that were okay for the highway, and then he did some off-trail things. And his biggest takeaway was, it is super capable bike. It is an awesome bike. In the trails, lighter bikes with smaller displacement outperformed him, and he thinks, because he's ridden other adventure bikes. So this guy has the ability to make that comparison. So he's like, man, a 750 or a 900 motor would lighten the weight. It would allow you to maybe even make the travel taller. The frame could come up because it would cradle a smaller motor. And he's not the only person I've heard say, I would love to ride a Pan America, that are BMW adventure bike owners, that they don't own a 1300 because it's heavy.
Yeah. Look at, in the adventure bike world, look at the Yamaha Tenere 700. That bike is a huge dominator of its class, and that medium-sized motor, a 750 to 900cc motorcycle. you can't find them, at least in our area. I mean, I've heard multiple people talk about, man, they'd love to ride one, but you can't even get on them for a test ride because they're sold by the time they get off the truck here. And they are that bigger frame with a smaller displacement that's a lot lighter than your big 13 and 1200 cc adventure bikes. So it would be super cool to see a bike like that come out and that smaller displacement. I mean, take is the Nightster also the 1250? Yeah. I mean, if they could even offer the Nightster in a, I don't know, a 900 or something like that, it would be super cool, you know, to see. But who knows? Maybe this new CEO is bringing in those plans. You know, maybe he hears what some people are saying. So it's all going to, you know, we'll get to see it in the future play out. So that's super exciting to think about.
So let's circle back to the fact that Harley Davidson for the first time may release their new models here in the fall. What is your thought process of a benefit of releasing new models in the fall?
I think financially, in Harley Davidson's favor, it's a good idea. You've got guys that are going to be seeing the new 26s come out in the fall, thinking, man, Christmas is coming up. This might be my Christmas present to myself. They're sitting there, they're looking at them, they're seeing the new colorways in person, they're seeing new bike drops in person, and they have a few months to think about it for the holiday season. And at the same time, for that holiday season, they'll see the previous year bikes start to, you know, lower in price. Dealerships are going to want to get rid of all of their 25s because the 26s are here now. So they'll go on some sales. You'll see deals on those that a lot of guys will feel way more comfortable. And I think you'll see bikes sell faster in those slower months of the winter when riding season isn't really in. You might get a day every 4 weeks to ride. So personally, I think it's a great idea, and I would love to see it as well myself. What is your stand on it?
I think from a business model, getting traffic into your dealership in some of the slower months is a must. It's a must. You have new models there for people to look at. You have new colors for them to look at. You have gift buying season coming up for Christmas. You now have multiple reasons to run into a Harley shop. If you have a Harley enthusiast in your house or your family or your friends, rather than stopping by a grocery store or something and picking up a Harley Davidson gift card and giving them, you might run into the store and say, wonder what these new bikes look like, or wonder what new colors are coming out, and pick up something there. You may still end up with a gift card, but you're going to end up in your shop looking and planning. Most of us, we live in an area of the country where your riding season isn't year round. There's going to be a couple months where your bike's just sitting and you're doing your tinkering and you're looking and you're planning your next riding season, and you may sneak a day out a month like you said, but most of the time you have some downtime in the wintertime where you just can't ride.
I like to call that time the upgrade season because that's when I've got my parts and my bike torn apart and installs.
So, point to that. If you release these new bikes in the fall, you have these aftermarket companies that can start seeing these bikes released in the fall. They're going to start their aftermarket production. Most people that don't have a riding season through the winter, if they go buy a new bike, they're going to plan on what their upgrades are going to be. With the ability to see the bikes in the fall, your first round of aftermarket products, other than Screaming Eagle, because they'll be developed at the same time for you to release, so that they'll have some aftermarket things in the dealership for when you buy your bike. But an aftermarket company can see these bikes, have a month or two, they get their hands on them. Harley sends them things. These companies most times go out and buy a bike. They 3D scan the whole thing and they start printing out their own aftermarket parts. That allows them to have a little bit of jump, a little bit of production. They're still going to be filling orders as a company for people ordering aftermarket parts for Christmas. But then they can also have some R&D coming, and they can start dropping these aftermarket parts right after the first of the year. While you and I are still sitting around wishing riding season would hurry up. Now, when Harley released bikes in January, you go buy a new bike, and it's maybe March or April before the aftermarket starts to catch up. Like the 25 CVOs and the 25 road glides and things, as early as 2 months ago, there wasn't any tuning ability other than Screaming Eagle for them. And those bikes came out in January. If those bikes could have come out in last October, we're talking going into the summer, tuners would have been ready. By now, Thundermax and all those people might have all the tuners ready for sale. I think Thundermax actually did have something in June that they were ready to drop, and you could have all your software updated. But we watch a lot of other YouTube channels, and guys build bikes, and they were building these 25 street glides, and they built them as far as they could, and in their channels they build them and sell them. And they built them, and they still were running a Screaming Eagle tuner that they could buy when they bought the bike, because no other aftermarket tuning was available. Pipes were available, cams were available, bars and risers are available, but it still took a little while. The fact that the 25 was the same as the 24 was a very good move, you know what I mean? There was no changes other than some tech things and colors. But if you release a new model and you have some big changes to it, releasing it in the fall allows these aftermarket companies the ability to get a little bit ahead of the curve, so that, hey, if I get money or Harley Davidson money for Christmas and I bought a new bike in the fall, I'm looking to spend that on aftermarket stuff as soon as I can get my hands on it. I'm pre-ordering that stuff in January, and it's going to hit my house in February or March. I'm going to have it put on before my riding season really starts. And I can at least put things on and test them out before I start taking major road trips in May and June and July, rather than rushing an install and then traveling and seeing, did I do a good job? Is it what I wanted? What if I bought it and I didn't like it, and I'm 1,000 miles from home or 2,000 miles from home, and I hate this new seat I bought?
Yeah, I mean, look at the guys that just went to Sturgis and they're having problems on brand new bikes because the install was rushed because it just came out and they just got it. I mean, I've seen a few TikToks and Instagram Reels and Facebooks of this exact problem, you know. So I think having those few months extra, and like you said, having guys the ability to get their aftermarket parts on in the off season for at least our area, where you don't have a year-round riding season, that will, you know, it'll bring more money to the motor company, more money to the aftermarket supporters, and you're going to see more satisfaction out of the riders.
Well, riders are finicky too. If you get in your mind that you're ready to buy a new motorcycle, and it's September, and BMW's releasing a new bike, and Indian's releasing a new bike, and the Harley Davidson is on your radar, but you're not really sure if that's what you want to buy, and you can't go into a dealership and see the 26 model of one of those brands, and you're expecting a major upgrade that year, and you've been hinted that there's an upgrade, but you can't see it, throw a leg over it, touch it, see the colors, but you're ready to pull the trigger and buy a bike in October, you probably just eliminated a brand because you can't lay your eyes on it. We're not talking photos and internet pictures. I'm talking going in. When the new gray color was released for 2025, the Iron Horse or whatever gray, we were out and I told you, I said, we're going to the dealership today. I don't need anything, but I want to see that color in person.
And it's beautiful.
And it is awesome. Better than any picture. I didn't buy a new bike. I just wanted to see the new color. But I probably walked over and looked at a t-shirt, or I probably walked over and thought, man, I need some cleaner because it's time to put this on our bike, or I bought a new flat oil pan or something because we were in the dealership. Just walking in there, you typically don't leave without buying something because we're just creatures of we have to have something new. But that being said, I see nothing but upside for releasing your models in the fall. We've seen car dealers and car industries done it for years. Other motorcycle companies do it. Race teams on the dirt side release their bikes at the halfway point, because if they release them, then they can race them the next year. Or if they release them, they can race them the second half of this year. It's all strategic. And I think we just kind of missed, Harleys have just missed that the past couple years. I think being ahead in the industry and first for some eye candy, it pops for a lot of people. But I do think getting traffic in the dealerships in the months of September, October, November, and December will only help your bottom line. And they say, the biggest competition for a new Harley is a used Harley. I think you'll see their used bikes move. I think you'll see guys going in and looking at a new model, and they'll be like, there's really no difference this year other than this shade of red, and that 25's left over. I'll take it for $3,000 less. It's the same bike. Or, hey, somebody traded in a 24 to buy this 26, and that 24 has 9,000 miles on it. I'll let that guy take the depreciation hit, and I'll save $8,000 buying that used bike. We're not big on financing and buying brand new toys. We're just not.
Which I wanted to touch on that. You said you'll think that used bikes will move more too because of this. And I just mentioned to you the other day, I have noticed a flood in the used market around our area. Look at Facebook Marketplace, Cycle Trader, and everything. There is a huge boom of used Harleys for great prices. I mean, I've sent you 2 or 3 links. I'm seeing bikes that I would have loved to have seen when I was looking for my motorcycle a few years ago, and they're going for great deals. I mean, now is the time. You're entering that end of the riding season where guys are either thinking they're getting out of a bike or, hey, I'm upgrading. And you see the drop in October when they still have a month or two to ride around, and they'll catch the very end of the riding season. They're like, I can really test this thing out. I'm going to try to sneak in as many as I can and then order parts for it through the winter. That's where you'll see this boom. So now is the time, if you're wanting to get into motorcycles, man, be looking. At least if you're on this area, in this East Coast, there are bikes coming up right now that are just great deals and steals, and bikes that have been, put up in garages that have just been kept well and not ridden a whole bunch. I mean, it's out there, and the market's flooding. And I think with that, October releasing of the new bikes, you're going to see that market flood more. You're going to see a bigger boom in a used Harley Davidsons. And I think it'll bring more people to motorcycles, or it's going to bring people to increase their collection of motorcycles. Because around here, I don't think you should get rid of a bike to get another one. I think it just needs to add to the collection. But that can be pricey and take up a lot of room. So I think it's going to be a good thing if we see those bikes start coming out at the towards the end of the year, and instead of seeing them on January.
Yeah, I think you're sitting here talking, and there's a guy right now. It's August the 20th, 21st, and when we're recording this, and he's sitting here thinking, I might sell my bike this year. I got more miles on it. I'm ready to upgrade. Or, hey, my bike's getting a little bit too heavy for me. I'm going to look at moving down from a bagger to a Softail, maybe a Lowrider ST or something. And he's like, well, let me put some feelers out, because a lot of people just feel that trading their bike is giving it away. So that guy goes ahead and lists his bike on Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, Cycle Trader, whatever. And then he starts seeing what it's going to be worth, and he starts getting some contacts about it. So then he sees what he's going to sell it. He does his market research. He sees what bikes are going for around in his area. He prices it really competitively. But now he knows if it sells September, October, he's got cash in hand to know what his budget needs or what he's going to throw with it out of his pocket to move into this next bike, or if he wants to finance it, what his finance cost is. But it allows him to not be so much of an impulse buyer, not walk in there to Harley Davidson and just have to have the latest XYZ to the tune of $500 or $600 a month for a motorcycle payment. And in our area, you're going to let that thing sit, unless you're just the biggest cold weather rider and love heated gear and being dangerous in snow and things around here. And you're just not going to ride year round here. And I would hate to think that I've got this big massive payment because I was impulsive and I've watched my bike sit in the same spot for 2 months, other than I just went out there and checked the trickle charger or started it. And that's just me. That's how I look at things. But I also think that being released in the fall allows guys who are calculated, and there are guys who know, I'm going to keep my bike for 5 years and I'm going to move on from it. I'll keep it through this technology wave, and as soon as the frame changes or the radio system changes or they change the design of the fairing or they upgrade some lighting or the bags change or they introduce a new motor in this Softail line. I mean, you see Softails now with 117s. A guy coming from a 103 to a 117 skipped a lot, and it's going to be twice the bike he thinks he's riding right now if you're going stock to stock. Nobody really leaves their bike stock, but I mean, Xander has a 96 cubic inch with some work done to it. I have a stock 103. If I jumped on a 117 Lowrider ST, I'm pretty sure I would be able to tell it in the seat and in the throttle. I'm sure you, with your engine work, jumping from your 96 onto my 103, even when you move it around here at the house, it feels different.
Absolutely. And then you even look into what if the suspension changes. That's a big thing for some guys. You take my 2007 Dyna that's got a 96 cubic inch motor and probably some motor mounts that are towards the end of their life and may need replaced in the near future. You know, I got the Dyna Wobble. I hop on a 117 Lowrider ST, that thing's going to feel like a rocket. Or it's just going to feel completely different. So that's, you know, always something guys are looking into. And if they get to see these bikes in the fall, they're going to be more calculated, more ready to pull the trigger. They're going to know what they're getting, and they're going to be stoked for the next riding season, which is going to make them light a fire underneath of them to buy that bike.
The ability to see that in October when the weather still is decent around here in October and get a test ride on it, even if you're kind of on the fence, then you can still sell your bike through the winter and be ready to move on. Or tell the guys, hey, I want to order this color. Yeah. This is what I want. I'm willing to wait till February till my color gets here, but I'm ready to move on to a new bike. Because if that happens in January, it's March or April till your new bike shows up, and you're missing out on some riding time. And let's just be honest, we're pretty much impatient people here as Harley Davidson guys. Well, we thank you for your time. That's all we got to talk about tonight. I hope you enjoyed it. We're still ironing out some things. We're filming on a new camera tonight, or a different camera. Playing around with our lighting and some things here in the studio. Give us some feedback. We value everything, and we're going to get this as edited as we can. Make it sound as good as it can. We're sorry this is what you're dealing with if you're watching us on YouTube. This is the only looks we have, but we appreciate it. We love talking motorcycles, and again, we hope you enjoyed it. Smash that like button, subscribe to our channel, share it, send it to people you know, tell everybody you know. There's some local guys here around town or here in West Virginia talking about Harleys a little different, our different perspective. We don't have any sponsorships. We don't have any affiliations with any dealers. Nobody's given us anything for free. We will try it out. If you want to link up with us, or you're somebody that thinks what we're doing is okay, we'll do a product review. But don't ask us to do a product review if you don't want the truth. The next couple of episodes, we probably will be starting to talk about some things we have. We wear different helmets. We like certain gloves. We riding different shoes and things of that personal preference. And it's, again, not to push it down your throat, but just to let you know a little bit more about who we are. But we thank you for joining us tonight. Actually, we're filming this at night. I think this will try to drop. We're going to shoot for Fridays at noon to be our drop time on YouTube and all of the podcast platforms that we talked about earlier. So, Big Z, you want to take us out?
Yeah, we hope everybody stays riding safe and keep your head on a swivel out there. Like Dad mentioned earlier, people aren't looking for motorcycles, so loud pipes save lives, and we'll holler at y'all later.
Be safe and be blessed. Thank you.